In the midst of the Cold War, a time of great tension and uncertainty, a hero emerged from the shadows. Oleg Penkovsky, a Soviet military intelligence colonel, would become one of the most important spies of the 20th century. Born on April 23, 1919, in Vladikavkaz, Russia, Penkovsky's early life was marked by a strong sense of duty and loyalty to his country. However, as he rose through the ranks of the Soviet military, he began to see the harsh realities of the Soviet regime and the suffering of its people. This would ultimately lead him to make a choice that would change the course of his life and the course of history. Penkovsky's decision to spy for the West was not taken lightly. He knew that if caught, he would face certain death, and his family would suffer greatly. Despite this, he felt a strong sense of moral obligation to act against the Soviet regime, which he believed was oppressive and corrupt. Using his position and charm, Penkovsky began to gather intelligence on the Soviet military, including its nuclear capabilities and strategic plans. He would then pass this information to his Western contacts, who were eager to learn more about the Soviet Union's military might. Penkovsky's codename, Hero, was given to him by the CIA, who recognized his bravery and selflessness. He was a complex and charismatic individual, able to effortlessly switch between his roles as a Soviet colonel and a Western spy. His charm and sophistication allowed him to move freely within the highest echelons of Soviet society, gathering intelligence and building relationships with key figures. However, this double life took a great toll on Penkovsky, who was constantly looking over his shoulder, aware that one misstep could mean capture and execution. Penkovsky's spying activities were not limited to gathering intelligence on the Soviet military. He also worked to undermine the Soviet regime from within, using his position to spread disinformation and sow discord among his comrades. This was a delicate and dangerous game, as one misstep could lead to his downfall. However, Penkovsky was a master of deception, able to convincingly play the role of a loyal Soviet officer while secretly working to bring down the regime. In October 1962, the world came to the brink of nuclear war as the Cuban Missile Crisis unfolded. The Soviet Union, under the leadership of Nikita Khrushchev, had begun to install nuclear missiles in Cuba, just 90 miles from the United States. Penkovsky's intelligence played a crucial role in alerting the West to this threat, allowing President John F. Kennedy to take decisive action and demand that the Soviets withdraw their missiles. The crisis was eventually resolved, but not before the world had come perilously close to disaster. Penkovsky's life as a spy was marked by constant danger and uncertainty. He was always looking over his shoulder, aware that the Soviet secret police, the KGB, were constantly on the lookout for traitors. Despite this, he continued to gather intelligence and pass it to his Western contacts, who were eager to learn more about the Soviet Union's military capabilities. Penkovsky's bravery and selflessness inspired many, and his legacy continues to be felt today. In October 1962, Penkovsky's luck finally ran out. He was arrested by the KGB, who had been suspicious of his activities for some time. The arrest was a major blow to the West, which had come to rely on Penkovsky's intelligence to inform its policy towards the Soviet Union. Penkovsky was taken into custody and subjected to intense interrogation, but he refused to betray his Western contacts or reveal the extent of his spying activities. Penkovsky's trial was a sham, with the outcome predetermined. He was charged with treason and espionage, and the evidence against him was overwhelming. Despite this, Penkovsky maintained his dignity and composure, refusing to apologize or show remorse for his actions. The trial was a major propaganda event, with the Soviet media using it to denounce the West and its supposed agents of espionage. On May 16, 1963, Penkovsky was led to the execution chamber, where he was shot by a firing squad. His death was a tragic end to a life marked by bravery and selflessness. Penkovsky's legacy, however, lived on, inspiring generations of spies and intelligence officers. His courage and sacrifice had changed the course of history, and his name would become synonymous with bravery and loyalty. Penkovsky's impact on the Cold War cannot be overstated. His intelligence played a crucial role in alerting the West to the Soviet Union's military capabilities, and his bravery inspired many to take a stand against oppression. Today, Penkovsky is remembered as a hero, a man who risked everything to fight for what he believed in. His legacy continues to inspire and fascinate, a reminder of the power of courage and conviction. Despite his heroic status, Penkovsky remains a mysterious figure, shrouded in secrecy and intrigue. His personal life and motivations are still not fully understood, and his relationships with his Western contacts remain classified. However, one thing is clear: Penkovsky was a complex and charismatic individual, driven by a strong sense of morality and a desire to do what was right. His story is a testament to the power of human courage and conviction, and a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there are always those who will stand up for what they believe in. As we continue to explore the life and legacy of Oleg Penkovsky, we are reminded that the world of espionage is one of secrets and lies, where nothing is as it seems. Penkovsky's story is a fascinating glimpse into this world, a world of intrigue and deception, where the stakes are always high and the consequences of failure are deadly. As we delve deeper into the world of espionage, we will encounter more characters like Penkovsky, each with their own unique story and motivations. The world of espionage is a complex and fascinating one, full of twists and turns, and we are just beginning to scratch the surface. By 1960, Colonel Oleg Penkovsky had achieved an unprecedented level of access within the Soviet military hierarchy. His position as a GRU intelligence officer stationed in Moscow gave him direct oversight of military installations across the Soviet Union. This proximity to classified information came at great personal risk, as the Soviet security apparatus was notorious for its zero tolerance of espionage. Penkovsky's career had begun to attract unwanted attention when he started making unauthorized inquiries about Western military capabilities, knowledge that would prove crucial to his eventual betrayal. In the spring of 1961, Penkovsky made contact with British intelligence through a carefully orchestrated meeting in West Berlin. The CIA and MI6 had been seeking inside information about Soviet missile capabilities, and Penkovsky offered what amounted to a treasure trove of classified data. He provided detailed photographs of Soviet missile sites, technical specifications of nuclear warheads, and intelligence about Soviet command structures. The information flowed through a network of handlers who operated under deep cover, communicating with Penkovsky through coded messages and dead-drop systems that spanned from Berlin to London. Penkovsky's most valuable intelligence concerned Soviet intermediate-range ballistic missile deployments. He revealed that the USSR was constructing missile sites throughout its territory, with particular focus on installations that could threaten Western Europe. His information included precise locations, construction timelines, and technical details about the missiles themselves. The CIA quickly verified his data through their own reconnaissance assets, confirming that Penkovsky was providing authentic, high-value intelligence. This information fundamentally altered American understanding of Soviet military capabilities and strategic intentions. As tensions escalated in late 1962, Penkovsky provided critical intelligence about Soviet activities in Cuba. His sources within the Soviet Naval Command revealed that missile transport ships were en route to the island, carrying equipment that would soon be installed in defensive positions. This information reached American intelligence just days before the first Soviet ships arrived in Cuban waters. President Kennedy's advisors used Penkovsky's intelligence to understand not just that missiles were coming, but how quickly they could become operational once deployed. By September 1962, Soviet security services had begun to notice irregularities in Penkovsky's activities. Unusual communications patterns, unexplained visits to secure facilities, and suspicious financial transactions raised red flags within the KGB. Investigators traced some of these anomalies back to Penkovsky's interactions with foreign intelligence services. The colonel's growing confidence in his protection led him to become more brazen, making unauthorized trips and sharing information that exposed his network. The Soviet security apparatus moved slowly but deliberately to close in on the source of their intelligence leak. Knowing that detection was imminent, Penkovsky made one final attempt to provide maximum value to his Western handlers. In September 1962, he arranged a clandestine meeting with both CIA and British intelligence representatives, delivering a comprehensive dossier of Soviet military weaknesses. This included details about flawed ICBM designs, inadequate security protocols, and vulnerabilities in Soviet command and control systems. The information was so detailed that Western analysts immediately recognized its authenticity. However, this meeting would prove to be Penkovsky's undoing, as KGB surveillance had identified the location and timing of the rendezvous. On October 22, 1962, KGB agents surrounded Penkovsky's apartment in Moscow, moving in simultaneously with Soviet military and security forces. The operation was swift and precise, catching Penkovsky and his wife off guard in their living quarters. Documents, photographs, and communication equipment were seized in a matter of hours. The arrest was kept highly classified, with only a select group of Soviet leaders aware of the scale of the espionage network that had been compromised. Penkovsky was taken into custody without resistance, though his fate was already sealed by the Soviet leadership. Penkovsky's trial began in February 1963, held behind closed doors in Leningrad. The proceedings were swift and predetermined, with the defendant facing charges of high treason and espionage. Soviet authorities presented a dramatic confession in which Penkovsky admitted to providing intelligence to Western powers, though he claimed his actions were motivated by patriotic concerns about nuclear proliferation. The trial was used as a public demonstration of Soviet resolve against espionage, with the state media portraying Penkovsky as a traitor who had sold out Soviet achievements. His wife was also tried and received a 10-year prison sentence. On May 16, 1963, Oleg Penkovsky was executed at the infamous Shelbestable prison facility outside Moscow. The execution was carried out by firing squad, a method reserved for the most serious crimes in the Soviet system. The facility, known for its harsh conditions and secretive operations, had executed numerous political prisoners throughout the Stalin era. Penkovsky's body was buried in an unmarked grave, a fitting end for a man who had spent his life in the shadows of military secrets. The Soviet government made no public announcement of the execution, maintaining the fiction that Penkovsky had died in prison. News of Penkovsky's arrest and execution reached Western intelligence circles through diplomatic channels within weeks. Both the CIA and MI6 confirmed that years of valuable intelligence had been lost with his death, though they acknowledged the critical impact of the information he had provided. The CIA had originally codenamed him Hero, recognizing the courage required for his actions, while British intelligence used the codename Yoga. Western officials privately acknowledged that Penkovsky's intelligence had fundamentally altered the trajectory of the Cold War, providing crucial insights during the most dangerous moments of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Retrospective analysis confirmed that Penkovsky's intelligence was instrumental in preventing nuclear war during the Cuban Missile Crisis. His information about Soviet missile weaknesses gave President Kennedy the confidence to demand a full withdrawal of Soviet missiles from Cuba, rather than accepting a compromise that might have left nuclear weapons on the island. The intelligence about Soviet ICBM vulnerabilities also informed American strategic planning, helping to de-escalate tensions by revealing that the Soviet Union's nuclear arsenal was not as formidable as previously believed. History's most dangerous confrontation was averted, in part, by a single man's willingness to betray his country. Oleg Penkovsky's story remained largely unknown to the public for decades, buried in classified archives until the end of the Cold War. Historians now recognize him as one of the most significant intelligence figures of the 20th century, a man whose actions helped shape the course of world history. His intelligence work demonstrated that individual courage could outweigh entire military machines, and that truth could emerge from the darkest corners of authoritarian rule. Penkovsky's legacy lives on in the peaceful resolution of the Cuban Missile Crisis and in the understanding that even in the most controlled societies, individuals retain the power to influence global events.